Here's what's popping up in my inbox this week, including one RV company that refuses to take responsibility. Hi, I'm Liz. I help people stuck in an RV nightmare. This channel is dedicated to waking up the RV industry so they'll take care of their customers. I've been able to get numerous cash settlements, factory repairs, and even buybacks. This is all thanks to you for liking, subscribing, and sharing, making this channel the force that it is. Today I have some updates for you, but first I have an interesting situation. Someone wrote me where they purchased a 2025 fifth wheel. They paid probably $70,000 for it, and they used it for just 5 days. And they noticed several things wrong with it. I think a list of 16 things, but one thing that was really troublesome was their table was loose. RV manufacturers are installing these tables without legs. They're just installed on the wall. So he took it back to the dealer, and it turns out that this RV was missing its mounting plate, the mounting piece that holds that table firm. So it had to wait at the dealership for over 2.5 months while this got repaired. I mean, it's not usable in the owner's mind, without a table, and I agree. So they kept pushing back. Now, who was this RV made by? By Keystone. So they kept pushing back at Keystone. Hey, we need some compensation. They had a big trip planned that was for a month. They had to cancel it. They continued to make payments in these over 2.5 months and pay for storage so that they wouldn't lose their storage spot. Well, they had to complain to Keystone numerous times, and then finally, Keystone said that they would make 2 of the payments. They would reimburse them for 2 of those payments as a goodwill gesture. Now that right there is what set me off. Okay, I want you to put in the comments what you think a goodwill gesture or customer goodwill means to you. Because to me, it means, hey, we don't really have to do it, but in the interest of customer goodwill, we're going to do it. That is not the response that I would expect. I would expect Keystone to take accountability and responsibility because this was all their fault. If they had done their job right in the first place and made sure that the QC was done before that fifth wheel left the factory and made sure that that mounting board was on there, these customers would not have lost 2.5 months of their camping season and had to make 2.5 months of payments on an RV they couldn't use, plus the other expenses. But no, Keystone stopped right there and they said, that's all we're gonna do. Yes, you lost over 2.5 months of time. We're gonna reimburse you for 2 months payments. On top of that, this is why I'm not naming the customer or really giving you a lot of detail. The customer, in order to get that money, which again is not enough, in order to get that money, they had to sign an agreement. The agreement says that they cannot talk about this, they cannot talk about it on social media. So that means if they're in the forum with other Keystone owners with the exact same model or a similar model, and someone says, hey, this happened to me, they can't weigh in and say, yeah, we had the same thing. They just cannot talk about it. And if this turns out to be like a huge thing, and it turns out to be a class action suit, they cannot be part of that. In fact, they've signed off on the repairs so that Keystone is done. So even if the repairs don't hold up, they don't have any recourse. Like I said, they can't get an attorney. They are done. And again, we're not even compensated for all their hard expenses. I would think a company the size of Keystone, by the way, is owned by Thor. Thor had $10 billion in revenue last year. A company that size would not only own their mistake, they would make the customer whole and even give them extra. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for your inconvenience. You lost 2.5 months of camping season. You lost these big trips. And make them feel good about making it right. Now I'm talking about this because this is not an isolated incident. If you're a regular viewer of my channel, you know that just a couple weeks ago I talked about Grant and Calais. They also bought a Keystone. It had a mistake at the factory which led them to evacuate their RV. You want to check out those videos, but in a nutshell, it got mold all throughout it. The whole family got sick and Calais ended up in the ER. Their whole RV is untouchable. It's been in storage. They can't go near it. They certainly can't go in it. All Keystone has offered for their factory mistake, which has cost them so much money, they had to throw out all their stuff. All Keystone has offered them is to pay off their loan. Now, for the last year, they've been paying for storage, and making payments on this loan. You would think they'd be falling all over themselves to make it right, but no, they make an offer so low that it's an insult. And I think you should know about an RV company that when they screw up, they don't take responsibility. Certainly in these two cases. If you want to know which RV companies you can trust and which ones to run away from, I asked my audience of nearly 200,000 people. I put the results in an RV buyer's guide, and you can learn all about that in this video here or go to the link. It's on sale for 50% off, but this is the last week only for that discount. Dave wrote me recently about his 2017 Jayco Alante 31V. Now, let me tell you, I am going to write that exact make and model in an update that I'm doing on the buyer's guide, and I'm going to tell everyone not to buy it. So if you've already purchased my buyer's guide, don't worry, there's an update coming out soon, and that is free for you. You'll be able to download the book again and get that. So why would you not want to buy this? Well, he has 56,000 miles on it, and he took it in for service, and he said, I want to have the brake system flushed. Well, guess what? The way Jayco designed this motorhome, you cannot get to the brake fluid. You can't add brake fluid. You can't get to that reservoir. So he said there's no access. The cap cannot be removed due to a design flaw of the dashboard sitting on top of the reservoir. And he contacted Jayco, and this is what they said. Remove the dash cluster from inside the coach to under the hood, cut a hole around the master cylinder, build a box around the cylinder area so it can be removed as needed. Oh my gosh. I mean, is that not crazy? Like Dave says, this is a critical safety issue. The brake fluid must be available. You must be able to access your brake fluid, your reservoir. I recommended that he file a complaint with the NTSB and also alert his fellow owners if he's part of an owner's forum. But this is just absolute nuts. Let me know if you have a Jayco Alante 31V, and I'm also curious if it's just that year or if it's other years, because that is a huge safety issue and there should be a recall. I absolutely believe that there should be a recall. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments too. I have an update for you about Terry and Jen. You may remember they spent $250,000 on a Tiffin motorhome. They were the second owners. The first owner had only had it, I think, for like 90 days. Anyway, they had major problems with the slides and the leveling. These were huge hydraulic problems that Lazy Days was not able to fix. And they were just kind of stalled. So after the video came out, Tiffin said, as in a gesture of customer goodwill, even though they're out of warranty, they can come to the factory and get some repairs at no cost. So thank you, Tiffin. That is the actual correct use of customer goodwill. And unfortunately, though, at that time, Terry and Jen were just done. It had just been too much of an ordeal for them, so they sold their motorhome for a loss. Next week, I interview a former employee at an RV dealership, and this was kind of a shady RV dealership. It was kind of toxic, and so they have a lot to share about their underhanded tactics, so you'll definitely want to tune in for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.